how strong should my light be, and how close should my light be to my plants? This is the question that I don't think is ever going to get too old, right? With the beauty of LED lights and how much control they have, and also because they've changed the design from lights being a focal point of one singular light in the center to being a panel of lights, right? And you end up having a couple hundred different electrodes coming down your plant. What it has done is that you have the ability to dim down your LED, right? So it lowers the intensity of your light as well as slightly lowers the heat within your tent. And why is that nice, right, to dim it down? Well, it's because maybe you have seedlings or clones or brand new transplants, or you might have plants that are stressed out because they have bug problems, or maybe Pythium sets in, or Vercillium wilt sets in. You're able to very quickly dim down the light, and by doing that, it's going to reduce the amount of water the plant's taking up, because the reason why plants take up water is to self-regulate, right? They want to self-regulate their internal temperatures. And so they use evapotranspiration, I think that's the proper word, and they take up the water from the soil and release it through their leaves, going back into the atmosphere. As they're releasing the water, they're cooling off, right? And so your light intensity controls a lot of how much the water is going to be taken up in your plant. And another thing too is that your light intensity is important because when there's small little panels, right? The leaves are like solar panels. They can't take up a lot. And so you don't want to burn them up. When your plants are getting bigger and they have more photo panels, then you can increase the intensity of your LED and provide more light to your plants. Through this process, we're going to be controlling the height of your plants and to create an even growing canopy so you're not having valleys and peaks and dark areas in your room, so that maybe only a couple tops are getting really strong light, but then you have valleys that are getting a low amount of light, and then now you end up having the tops of your plants are taking up needing more water, while the bottom of your plants are needing less water, and now you're having a VPD issue with a possible powdery mildew or botrytis setting in because of stagnated water that the plant isn't moving the water around evenly, right? So through this process, you're going to be controlling the height of these plants so that as you increase your LED lights, it's going to be evenly casting that light over your entire canopy versus, like I said, just a few focal points. So what's too intense? What's too close? Well, really what it comes down to is you don't want it too close to the point where the plants are going to grow right up into the light. And the plants can put on 2 inches, 3 inches a day very easily. So what's going to be a nice safe range? Well, a nice safe range is going to be anywhere from 14 inches to around 20 inches away. And how I like to control and adjust the height of the light and the intensity of the light, because you have to think about it, right? If the light's really close, but it's dimmed all the way down, it's not going to hurt the plants at all. You can't be too close, especially when it's dimmed all the way down, but you can't see anything, right? So if you increase the height of it, and you're going to have to increase the intensity a little bit, because as the light gets further away from the plants, the light spreads and it loses its efficiency or its power. And through this process, how I like to train and teach my growers is I don't like to use like all the light electrodes and all the fancy stuff in the industry. I actually just like to pay attention to the leaves. The leaves actually show you through a taco process. And so what I mean, like taco, if you can imagine like eating a taco, how it's concave up, right? That's what your leaves are going to do. They're going to start to, instead of them being a nice like flat panel, they're going to start to create a taco, and you're going to see the tips of the leaves kind of like pushing the light away, is telling you, wow, it's too intense. Can you please reduce the intensity or raise the height of the light? And the reason why I like to to teach you guys how to do that is because you're going to have at times, until you learn to control your canopy height, this is how you're really going to be able to visually see what's going on with your leaves. And once you start paying attention to your leaves, you're going to start to begin to learn the language of the plants. And the language of the plants, it shows up through how opaque the leaves are, how leathery the leaves are. Like, do the leaves break easily, or do they have a leather type of stretch to them? It's going to be by the color of the leaves, the color of the green, the time of the year, and what's normal and what's not normal in color on various shades of purple. Same thing with the stem. Is it green or is it purple? Are the streaks of purple? Is the petioles purple? And are there little dots in my leaves? Does that mean it's spider mites? Does that mean it's malignum deficiency, right? All these things you start to learn. Literally the first step in learning the language, right? Like, so if you're learning a different language, they're probably going to teach you about apple, banana, or the ABCs or something, right? Well, this is the first step to learning the language of the leaves, because your light is something you interact with, and the intensity and the height of the light is something you interact with relatively at least 5 to 10 times throughout the growth. And it's a continuous tool that you can use to improve the growing environment of the plants. So the first step to learning this new language is by actually using that light and paying attention to how the leaves are looking with the light intensity. So I hope this was helpful.